So we just finished having some dinner at Turtle Bay, and let me just say it didn't go as well as
They just emptied our table.
you think. That's our table, they've emptied it.
Oh, that's really funny. That's Mum's drinks.
Okay, I didn't even get caught that on camera, but I did anyway.
Oh my goodness.
We just left Turtle Bay and they've emptied our table and we recorded that shit. What can I say? I'm honestly sick as a parrot.
Disappointed. Oh look, it's Wagamama. Worst Wagamama.
Mayonnaise.
No, it's the worst Wagamama in England. You said.
Yeah.
Your mate said that's the worst Wagamama.
Yeah, that was the worst one. People complained about that Wagamama.
Wow.
I'm in the lift right now, and I literally yelled mayonnaise outside the freaking hotel. Emerson, what are you doing? And they just, I think someone in their room actually laughed after I did that. I yelled mayonnaise, and they just started laughing. Starlight, what are you doing? I know I'm seeing the actor of you, but this is not. This is unnecessary. We would do that. All right, go. And this lift is loud as hell.
Right, we've just been down to the bar, got fizzy water, still water, all the waters, lemonade, vodka and coke. Charlie's pissed off because I fell down and pushed the bed together. We've got rugby on. You stopped being sick now?
Yes, I have stopped.
And actually the lady, I said it's his birthday, she's giving him a drinks voucher for tomorrow. Do you realise you've got to have that 8:30 in the morning?
Yeah, I do realise that, and I'm going to try and set my alarm clock to 6:30 in the morning. So
yeah, it's quite a funny night, but me moaning got our food cheap. So we're happy here. I hope you guys are alright. It's been quite funny in the end, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah.
It's been eventful. I thought, you know what, that's the crappiest service ever. And they knew it. They came over and apologised 3 times saying our food's coming, like, before our food came out. And when it came out and I ate the halloumi and it was cold, I just thought, oh, fuck this is ridiculous. And like I said, they took so long to get us seated, we missed out on happy hour as well. So instead of the drinks costing 20 quid for 4 drinks, it was like 20 quid for 2 drinks. And Charlie's pina colada, quite frankly, was absolutely fucking rank. It was like drinking coconut laxative. So, but how funny is that? He was vlogging and we walked past someone emptying their bottle bin.
And it was like, it made such a loud noise, it literally made us look and stop.
Oh my god, it's hilarious.
Alright, change your spots, everyone. And these contestants did make these costumes themselves.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's working the stage. Wow. That's a pretty cool costume. I had trouble videoing him.
Next up is Kiki Bat as Flutterbat. My time was like that. My time like that. Next.
What the F is that thing? It's like got a meat tag on its ear and nails going through its ears, and it looks like a gremlin on acid. It's a mouse.
Thank you, main six. Just to check, make sure before we get to the last one.
Hello. Oh, I feel quite weird not standing or something, but
What the F?
so we're just currently waiting for
It's not gangster.
So
I'm going to do our Jim Carrey impressions now, ready?
What do you like?
Should we try that again? Right, we're going to do our Jim Carrey impression. Go on then.
Yummy.
Yummy. Well, we just went back to the hotel we're staying at. Hooray!
2 drinks.
Because they were going to validate our parking for us. And we got something like 20 hours of parking for £12.50. It should have been 20 quid. And the lady was so nice, and she said because it's Charlie's birthday, she's going to give us a take-home drink each when we get home. So we got a Coke and a beer for free as well.
It's amazing, isn't it?
How sweet is that?
Yeah.
So
Good morning to you all. It's currently 7 morning. I've got an hour until I can have breakfast, and today is the day we're going to the Festival of Friendship. That's right. I am so excited right now. I literally cannot believe it, and I can't believe there's actually 2 conferences I go to every year nowadays. No.
Okay, so I'm going to briefly go over what a furry actually is in case people here are not aware of perhaps what a furry is. So the answer changes depending on who you ask, which I'm sure if you asked anyone in this room what a brony is, they might also give you a very different answer. These things are ultimately subjective. But it is an extremely diverse subculture based around anthropomorphic characters. Anthropomorphism means animals with human characteristics. So if you've ever seen the movie Zootropolis from Disney, that's the perfect example. That is literally just the furry movie. Makes my life much easier. For anyone who hasn't, you've probably seen Disney's Robin Hood though, so it's the same idea. People will have what is called a persona. So this is your furry persona. It is your original character that you have come up with that is completely unique to you. So you can express yourself through your persona through things like VR chat avatars, artwork, roleplay, costuming, however you like. There are literally limitless options. A lot of the fandom is revolving around artwork Same with, of course, My Little Pony fan communities. So I'm going to very quickly go over what My Little Pony fan communities are, because hopefully everyone in here should know. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'm talking very specifically about bronies, Pegasisters, adult My Little Pony fans and collectors, less so, generation 1 to 3 collectors. While they're an important part of the community, it is in some ways a different community than bronies. But of course, bronies is a fluid term. It can mean absolutely anyone who is an adult fan of Generation 4 and beyond. Some people don't use the term brony, and that's fine, which is why I'm using My Little Pony fan communities to mean that. So for example, personally, I don't really use the term brony because I don't identify as a man, and when I started watching My Little Pony, I was a child, so for me it doesn't quite fit. So I just go with My Little Pony fan or My Little Collector. But yeah, I'm going to use fan community as a kind of broad term in this, but specifically adult collectors, not children who like My Little Pony. Thank you very much. This is great. I need like a slave doing this all the time. So, we know what the furry fandom is. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much. So furries is like the name of the community. So for example, I am a furry, I'm in the furry community. It's one word for both, which makes it very confusing. So we've explored kind of what it is. It's a diverse subculture of people, same with bronies, of people who like anthropomorphism and have their own characters and just enjoy all of that. We know what My Little Pony fans are, I hope. So what are some similarities between the two? So in the furry subculture, creating a persona is an important step, but not a necessary step. This is a misconception. You don't need a persona to be a furry, but I would argue that almost every furry does have a persona because, let's be honest, it's one of the most fun parts, is getting to design something that feels and looks like you, and it's a way to express yourself. So you will similarly have My Little Pony characters, pony OCs, which I'll go into later, which is one way that they are obviously quite similar. But let me just read ahead. Yeah, so the furry fandom is not created from a specific set of media, which is one of the main things that sets it apart from basically all other communities. So for example, anime fans are fans of anime, and they got into it by watching anime. Furries didn't start out being like, I'm a fan of this video game and found the community for it. It is a concept, it's an idea, which is why it's really hard to define and explain it to people, because we're just like, that seems cool, and then we've all arrived at the same place.
You like dressing up like animals?
Well, we will get onto that, because technically that's not true. Oh yeah? Yeah, you look like a trash panda, to be fair. So yeah, the furry fandom is self-created and self-sustaining. So the furry fandom only exists because of furries, and it will only continue to exist because of furries and the creations that they make. Whereas with My Little Pony, for example, you have the show, the brand, the toys, the merchandise My Little Pony to create it in the first place. Yeah. Furries are just born out of an idea, and so long as there are furries, it will continue forevermore. Yeah. Which makes it very difficult to explain to people and to define. But obviously a lot of us come into furry because we like things like Sly Cooper and video games, and for me it was actually Twilight. I really liked the werewolves from Twilight, and that was my in. I've never met another person who has the same story as me. So yeah, My Little Pony fan communities also have OCs and pony sonas. Original characters are obviously not unique to either community. I'm sure you've all seen a Sonic OC before. Yes, don't worry, my Sonic OC is coming up in this panel.
Oh my. Sonic OC? Speak
of the devil and they shall appear. Alright, so it's time to inflate my ego slightly more. So this is my persona. They are called Rascal, just like me. They are an alien space dog, and they're just a little guy. They are what's called a feral persona, so that means that they are on all fours. I'm not going to get down on all fours, you know what I mean. Most personas you will see will stand on two legs, like me, unless they're a flamingo, obviously. But you do get what's called like feral personas, so Think of like in The Lion King, right? They all walk on all fours, but they still talk and have personalities. It's kind of the same idea. I have my pony Sona up here, who's called Penna. They're just also a little guy. They're also feral, they walk on all four hooves. But you can see anthro-pony Sonas as well, and I think they're really cool. Please make more of them. And this is my Sonic OC. They are called Resky. They are a rabbit, because apparently I just stick with the same name for everything, and I'm very original and unique. So both of these could be called an anthropomorphic character. They are. And you could use them as a persona if you wanted to in your way of interacting with the furry community. But technically, this is my persona, and the only one that I would call a specifically furry character. Like, this is my Sonic OC, that's my pony Sona. There are ways of interacting with that community specifically, but you will see people who have ponies as their persona or Sonic OCs as their persona too. There are no rules. Please. Thank you very much. Woo! All right, where am I at? Good question. Ah, yes, further comparisons. Perfect. All right, I'm going to get my steps in today. So both the furry fandom and My Little Pony fan community have conventions. Did you know you are at one right now? Crazy. As I sit there and type this at home, being like, I'm definitely not at a convention right now. So both fandoms will have events outside of conventions. Obviously, conventions are the main, but we all know about like brony meets that happen or fur meets that happen. Like the pre-meet last night is a great example. Not that I was there, I was in my hotel room panicking about this panel. So while My Little Pony conventions will feature cosplay competitions or showcase, speaking of, I will be judging it, so please come on, it'll be quite fun. It leans very heavily into that PonyCon style model where people will watch panels and watch the cosplay competition and a few people will enter, whereas that doesn't really happen at furry events. So we will have what's called fursuit parades. I'm going to say this information is slightly outdated because we now have too many people to do fursuit parades. But technically, fursuit parades, there's no structure, there's no sign-ups. You all just gather in a big room and stand together sweating. It's delightful. And you usually go on a pre-planned walk around the convention building. Again, conventions are kind of getting a little bit too big to do this now. So we have what's called menageries, which are like group photos instead. But I miss fursuit parades, and I'm putting this in here because I want them back. So that's a way in which they differ. A lot of the furry fandom differs from like that traditional Comic-Con model that a lot of brony conventions take after. Because the thing is, you don't need a fursuit to be in the fursuit parade. Technically, anyone can just start walking that route. They can't stop you. And people will watch it, right? It's quite a communal atmosphere that brings people together. And even the menageries now will have sections for kigus, kigurumis, like onesies, and things that aren't technically fursuits. It's a lot more interactive with how you costume and how you, be yourself. This photo here is taken from the fur meet I used to run in North Wales with lots of lovely people. These are both Galacon, if you're wondering. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. All right, what the fluff is a fursuit? That's a great question. Do you know how long it took for me to try and define this? It is frighteningly a long time. So I hope you're ready for me to info dump on you. So fursuits are a costume worn by a furry, which doesn't really tell you anything because that could be anything. But they have to be specifically designed around your persona, furry character. It's typically an animal costume worn to cosplay your character. That's generally what it means. It means a furry suit. But they do not need to be full body ensembles. They do not need to be constructed using faux fur. Fursuits don't use real fur. I'm just going to put that out there real quickly. Fursuit is an extremely loose term that includes a huge variety of different costume types and wearers. I'm going to take you through some very common styles and rules about fursuits, but the thing I will tell you now is the one thing I know about furries: if there's a rule, there's an exception. It is hugely diverse. There are thousands of these things out there, and I cannot hope to tell you all about them in the very short time that I have. So consider this an introduction, and then do your own research and enjoy. So next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to take you through the two main types very quickly, and I have both Don and Erin as perfect examples for this. So you have what are called toonie fursuits, taken from the word cartoon, right? So these are the ones you will see most often. They look like big, fluffy cartoon characters, like a Looney Tune come to life. And they will have these big eyes and these big smiles. And so the white part of the eye here, that's all like hard plastic usually. And then it is painted mesh for like the color and the black of the eye. And that's the bit you see out of if you're ever wondering. Don't poke it, it's very scary. And they will have like a big opening in the mouth and it'll be all hollowed out so you can breathe. But obviously some fursuits don't have eyes, some fursuits don't have mouths. There are no rules. So yeah, those toonie is the most common type that you're going to see. They're usually built with upholstery foam, which if you're wondering what upholstery foam is, it's a couch. It's basically just what a couch is made of. A bit fancier than that, but you know. I do know people who have pulled apart couches to make a fursuit before, so I guess not that fancy. But then you also have, like Erin here, what are called realistic fursuits. So you may have seen these, they're not quite as common as toonie fursuits. So you will see that she looks a lot more like a fox, right? And so her vision is through this mesh part here, like the tear ducts. And then these eyes will be like glass or resin, so they're not real. She can't actually see out of these eyes, poor Erin. And Erin has what is called a moving jaw as well. I was going to have an example here, but I've run out of space in the car, so you will just have to believe me. So this has like a series of like spring mechanisms in the jaw, so when you move your bottom jaw, it opens and closes the mouth, so it looks like you're talking. And Erin's head here is made out of resin, which again is the most common type, but you also see fursuits made out of anything and everything. So you will also see, excuse me. So rude. I'm gonna get new slaves next time. So you will see foam fursuit bases made with other things. The most recent type that you're seeing a lot of is what's called 3D printed bases. So you're seeing quite a few of those nowadays. I don't have one yet, but I'm sure I will one day. But yeah, so these are fursuits and ways of cosplaying your furry character. I think we've covered that. I think we've got that. Yeah? Okay, cool. On to the next slide. What's the next slide? Oh, yeah, but what if it's not that? Ah! Oh, welcome to all of the exceptions to the rules. I put out a tweet where I was like, please send me examples of fursuits not made with fur, and I had like 100 replies. So these are just the cherry-picked ones because there were too many, okay? So that's why I'm like, this is not an exhausted list. So you said the most common types of fursuits. What other types could there be? The answer is infinite. Most fursuits do tend to fall into either realistic or toonie in some degree. You can also have like semi-toonie, semi-realistic, and it goes on forever. So you do have what's called use your own eyes fursuits, which is this one here, that one. These are usually made by Magpie Bones. They are considered basically the industry leader in creating these. As the name implies, you use your own eyes. Oh. Fursuit! That's a toonie fursuit. Hello!
Hello! Rainbow!
Next example. But yeah, you will have also what's called use your own eyes fursuits. So this will just be a big hole. And then you put the mask on and you look through it with your own eyes, which is awfully convenient, for example, if you wear glasses. But it can also be for people who perhaps have sensory difficulties, because these are obviously extremely lightweight. Some people just genuinely like the style, but it can also be a more accessible way to fursuit, which we are all about here. I used to have a panel all about fursuiting and disability, but I don't have the time. There's never enough time. But yeah, you will also see these kind of costumes at sort of LARP events as well as furry conventions, and they will usually put makeup around the eyes. These are kind of rare, I would say. If you go to a furry convention of, let's say, 3,000 people, there might be 10 of these, possibly. but I wanted to make sure I included them because they are a very important part of furry history. And then of course you can have synths, robots, protogens. These are protogens down here. You know, because who says your furry animal has to be alive or living? They can be robotic, dead, shiny latex, whatever you want. The answer is you can make a fursuit out of anything. It doesn't even have to be a specific animal. It can be an animal that you made up. It can be a hybrid. It can be an animal that somebody else made up and you're like, that's cool, I'm gonna do that. So yeah, the answer is infinite. There are so many. And I wish I could have just made 10 slides to show you all of them. But typically you will find 2D fursuits or realistic fursuits constructing with faux fur. That's the general gist. Fursuit or cosplaying or mascots, the lines are very blurry. It's difficult because obviously, you know, you could be like, well, that sports mascot is a fursuit. And it's like, well, no. So the way I define it is that a fursuit has to be of your specific character. I don't care what it looks like, what it is, but it has to be unique and it has to be personalized. So even if you've taken a mascot costume and you have specifically made it look like your character, that's your fursuit now. If you've taken a dino mask and you've painted it to be specific to your character, it's your fursuit now, and I will absolutely support you 100% on that. And if anyone says different, they're lying. But what if somebody has a fursuit, but it's not their character? You know, like Big Macintosh over here, or Toy Bonnie, or Spyro. Are they still a fursuit? That really depends on the person. So for some people, they might be like, well, this character embodies who I am, and this feels like my fursuit, and I bought it from a fursuit maker, so of course it is. But equally, you might go up to somebody at Comic-Con and be like, oh, I love your fursuit, and they might be like, I'm not a furry, this is my cosplay. So generally, it depends on the person and how they want to personally identify themselves, right? Yeah, fursuits are entirely custom. Mascots generally are mass-produced items where if it is specific to a character, it's owned by a brand or a company. So like sports mascots, right? That character doesn't belong to the person sweating inside there. It belongs to the football team, right? It's their mascot rather than their character. The amount of furries I know who have been mascots at school is insane, especially in America. But yeah, fursuits are technically a form of cosplay because we're cosplaying our own original characters, right? So it really depends on the person, is the answer, because you have pony fursuits and they may be a specific character from My Little Pony, or they might be your pony soda, and at that point is that a fursuit? Who knows? Ultimately, is kind of the decision I came to with all of this. I wrote a lot of text basically just to go, just ask the person, is the short version. Go, go, go. All right, yes, I did promise some photos from like early furry cons. As you can see from the lobby here, like what, like two fursuits? One? Most people, no? I had a video on TikTok which was walking around confuzzled in the lobby. I just took my phone around like this and put it on TikTok, and I was like, hey guys, you know how you say you need a fursuit to attend a furry convention? What are all these guys? Will you believe me now when I tell you that's not true? Please believe me, please believe me. So we've explored what a furry is. I'm a furry, hello, what a fursona is. Also, your fursona can be anything. I didn't cover this earlier, but I think people are like, it has to be a very specific thing, and I'm like, it can be whatever it wants to be. Fursuits, the whole point of it, fursuits, sorry, fursuits as well, I guess. But the whole point of a fursona is to express yourself. Like I said, my fursona is feral, walks on all fours, still as much my fursona as somebody who has an anthro fursona. I have seen fursonas of all sorts of things, the most random thing in the world you can think of. People take existing characters and turn them into little furry animals. You've still changed it in a way to make it your fursona. So whatever, you do you. Yeah, so we've explained what a furry is, what a fursona is, what a fursuit is, kind of. Like I said, fursuits are a maze and a mystery. And we've touched a little on the community and conventions events. So in the United Kingdom, we have quite a few furry conventions now. Our largest is called Confuzzled, which is in Birmingham. It's in May this year, and if you want to go, you can't. It's sold out, sorry. It sold out last year. We've spoken very briefly about the differences and similarities between the two fandoms, but I want to ask, what is the point of me doing this panel? What is the point of me coming here and talking to you about this, apart from the fact that furries are obviously my special interest and I like talking about them? And fishy, let me. But why am I bothering to tell you about the differences between furries and My Little Pony fans? Because you could take the definition of a furry, right? Somebody who likes anthropomorphic characters, and you could go up to a Sonic or a My Little Pony fan and be like, you're a furry, or you're a diet furry. And people do that, and they're wrong and annoying, and I don't like them. So I decided to do an entire panel to spite them. Because it's not true, right? You can be into Sonic and My Little Pony and find the furry fandom and be like, you know what? I actually like this as well. You can use it as your gateway. So ironically, furry was my gateway into watching My Little Pony. All of my furry friends were watching it and I was like, My Little Pony, really? And then I started watching it and my friend was like, my favourite character is Applejack. And I was like, come on. I saw the light, I was wrong, but you know, like, it was my furry friends who got me to watch My Little Pony, and people go both ways on that. I know a lot of people who started watching My Little Pony, found the Brony fandom, and then were like, what's a furry? It can go either way, but they are different communities ultimately, and nobody can tell you who you are, right? Like, nobody come up to you and be like, you're a furry, because you technically fit this definition. I just don't think that's right. All of these communities are diverse and unique, and nobody can tell you who you are. And I think it's really important to only identify with words and terminologies that fit you, because technically all of us could be defined as something. But we're not a dictionary, we're people, right? We're unique and different. And you should identify with the terms that feel right to you. And maybe you've seen this panel and like, actually maybe furries are alright, I don't know. Or maybe you're like, nah, it's not for me, mate. Fursuits are a bit weird, aren't they? And that's fine too. So yeah, you decide who you are. All furry fandoms have their differences. Each one has its own community and its own language. Touched on this earlier, but obviously Pony-sona, fursuit, all of these are what's called idiolects. So this is a sociolect that is specific to a community. You also have dialect, which is how you talk specifically, but they all have their own language and their own culture.
Hiya. Sorry I can't be there in person. Unfortunately I work tomorrow, which is a shame. Also, I apologise if I sound awful. I've got a really, really bad throat and I feel ill, but I really wanted to do my panel. So, again, sorry for just not looking great either. So, welcome to the history of MLP. What are we going to go over? It will mostly reflect on the toy line of My Little Pony, with brief mentions of the animation in the games. I was going to put some videos in, but my laptop decided to crash and I didn't want to risk not having anything working, so woohoo. We'll look at each generation and give it its time to shine, even to 3.5, and hopefully you'll go away learning something new or correcting me on any of my mistakes, because it happens. Who am I? Why should we listen to you? So who am I? Why should you listen to me? I'm not an expert, just a big fan of pastel horses and elephants. I grew up with G2 and they're my favourite generation. I know, controversial. I started recollecting in 2010 with Friendship is Magic and I fell back in love. I actually think my first Friendship in Magic was a little tiny rarity that I got from Tesco when I was on summer camp, so woohoo. I currently have over 400 ponies of all generations combined. They are mostly in storage, which is a bit sad. And my G1 favourite is Oakley, Ivy, G3 is Minty, and G4 Princess Luna, and G5 is Izzy. Because I realised when I was updating this, I never mentioned my favourite G5, so. Oh, ignore the word that says process. It meant to say timeline. But here we have the timeline of all the generations. It can be seen as like slightly controversial down the generational 4 route because two different G4.5s came out in the toy line, but then only one different animation came out. So we'll go with however that goes. So yeah, woohoo! So quite a busy timeline. So we start at Beige Beginnings. So this is My Pretty Pony, and this is where it began in 1982. And it's huge. It's about 10 inches, and it's proper solid plastic as well. It is really hard to find these in good condition now because it's one knock and they do shatter because of the sort of plastic they are. And they came with accessories such as a hat and a saddle and a brush. The Beige Pony came out first, and then the Peachy, as we know, came out a little bit later on. Yeah, they were I really want to own one of these, but I don't really want to sell a kidney. So Bonnie Zachary, who are they? They're the reason we're all here today. The dreams of designing a children's toy, and the idea was born from her childhood desire. She really wanted a horse, but she couldn't have one because her family was moving around too much. So when she moved into toy design, being able to own a horse that you don't actually have to feed or put in a stable, muck out, brilliant. Strongly believe that it should be a unisex toy, but then I think it was one of the chief execs, wife or something, suggested they should be softer and smaller, and thus My Little Pony was born. How do I identify a G1? So this is Tootsie, just here. Ignore very faded, old faithful travelling companion, but they've got quite a chunky horse body, which is really nice. I always love their eyes, and they have a gentle smile. But let's go back because I'm not tech savvy apparently today. But this is just a basic sort of example, and then we have the poses. There's all sorts of different poses, like bride poses, big brother poses, and then we also have the G1 friends, which is like a moose, an elephant. There's all sorts. So there's got such a huge variety, and this generation definitely had the biggest variety out of all of them. It makes it so fun to collect them. And when the G1 toy franchise went global, the factories were across the world, but each of the factories were only given black and white instructions. So some factories made different colour ponies that are called Nirvana ponies. For example, Daddy Apple Delight has different colour eyes in the Spanish version than other versions. And there's ones where I can't remember if it's a French version, but Tootsie's white in that. It's quite cool. And so that's why you can see under a lot of, these don't really have it here because they were only made in China, but a lot of the originals have underneath where they were made, which is pretty cool. G1 animation. So I'm only really going to briefly talk about animation because I just know more about the toys, so really sorry. But if you have not watched any G1 animation, I recommend it. It is, when you go back and reflect on it, it is a lot more disturbing than I remember, and it is great, and it is, honestly, it is wholesome. There are some things I'm like, wow, I can't believe I watched that as a kid. So I do highly recommend it. Obviously it's not as polished as the animation we use today, but this was in the 80s. So I've got these were all hand drawn. I highly recommend watching it. I think you can find them. You can buy it. They've been put onto DVDs or YouTube. Yeah. How to identify a G2? So this is Ivy. As you can see, those eyes, as soon as that gem falls out, it goes into sort of an abyss, so it's not very pleasant. They are a lot more slender, so to say, and they're more in proportion. They are I can hold this easily in my hands like that because it's quite a nice, chunky little mousse. But G2s, they're not as stable, so I can't really just hold it in my hand. So I do prefer, like, controversial, I do prefer G1s for like how I can just be like, look at this. But yeah, also G2s also had loads of different poses such as magic motion, so you could turn the head and the leg kicks, but sometimes they fell off as well, so. G2 animation, I wasn't. But over here you can see those movie with G2 artwork. You know what? I thought, why not? Why not redo the movie with put G2 artwork on the cover? I remember my mum buying me this, and she was like, "Oh, there's a new movie out," and I put it in, and it was the same one, and I was like, "Oh," so I was really excited. But as a part of my childhood, I could get my heart broken by Friendship Garden CD-ROM. So when I was back when, you know, you had to throw the internet cable downstairs to plug in this big old computer, I remember loading it up, taking about 15 minutes to load up, and nice game. You create a pony, as you can see over here, you create them, then you play with them, you've got different things to do, you feed them, you take pictures of them, you give them medicine when they're poorly, you fall in love with this horse. And they're like your bestie. Like, I remember running home from school to be like, oh, I'm going to use my computer time to play with my pony. And then once you've completed all the goals, they cross over the rainbow. And yeah, I did end up having like a lot of saved files where I nearly complete the game and then I restarted because I didn't want to lose them. And yeah, my dad was not impressed with that at all. But I think you can still play the game with like one of those little thingamabobbies. I'm not very technical, but if anyone has it on a laptop or anything, I would love to play it again. How do I identify a G3? Like, I think these, I don't know how to, like, they're too unloved. Like, oh gosh, look at my bad editing there. They are more like a G1. They've gone back to being like a nice chunky horse, you can hold it in your hand nicely. They have, again, hundreds of different ponies, all different colours, cutie marks. Like, the unicorns and Pegasus are definitely the rarer ones. There was mostly more earth ponies. And there's like baby G3s, which are really cute. So yeah, they have these eyes, which is bigger than the G1 eye. Again, I've only got Oakley here. But yeah, but they have a smile, and the smile's cute, but it's not as cute as the little tiny smile that G1s have. How to identify a G3? So down here, they're quite chunky. They've got the chunkiest legs, and also most of them have a really creepy open mouth. Huge head that's usually just only slightly smaller than the body, and yeah, slightly terrifying. G3 animation. Watch a minty Christmas. Watch a very minty Christmas.
Woo!
I'm not going to even spoil it because it's the cutest thing that I've seen. Watch it. I have loads of the Minty plushies that sing the Minty song. I have 4 and they can sing it around. Brilliant. 3.5. Watch it if you want. There are some good ones, but again, it's not the style I like, and I much prefer this style than over here, for sure. And also, there was G3 Live. Like, okay, this was in America, and it was $12 a ticket. Do I remember the date off the top of my head? No. But it is slightly terrifying. But originally when I saw this photo, I was like, that is so sunny. Oh, and then I was like, no, it's G3. So yeah, oh, let me go back. I don't know how long this stored for, but I just thought it was quite interesting. And a little bit scary. Yeah. But apparently all the shows sold out. I think in one part. I don't know, the article I was reading, it was $12 ticket. And all tickets sold out. And I was like, alright, cool. How to identify G4? So actually, this is a fashion style Luna. So she's slightly bigger than normal, but they're more like an elongated one. But it was the only one I had to be able to do a comparison. And I've realised I've forgotten to put a picture in here. I think. Maybe. We'll see. Let me just put zigzag down before I keep throwing them all over the place. So, G4s are a lot smaller. I used to say they're the smallest, but they're kind of on par with G5, but they're quite a bit chunkier here than G5. G5 are more elongated. They've got nice little chunky hooves. And really nice brushable manes. Like, all these manes have been really lovely. Quite easy to fix if they've got knots or anything in. With the clothing, easy removable. Like, just a really overall. I really love this Luna. So Will the glitter. So that's why I've used her. Annoyingly, there was only one alcohol mould. Well, two, but annoyingly, Luna didn't get a separate mould, and that's different argument from me. But yeah, they're quite nice, they're small. You usually find your Twilights and your main 6 characters quite cheap. Whereas there's a lot more of the rarer ones, like Nurse Red Hat, who are a bit more expensive. G4 animation. I don't even think I need to go into this too much. I'm pretty gonna put Equestria Girls in there because I always get asked. I mention Equestria Girls. I loved Equestria Girls when it first came out. Like, I collected every single doll. There was just something about them, and I've got a whole box full of just the dolls, so I just think I need to sort them out. And also, I put Equestria Girls in with it because they do go into this world. So, woohoo. If you haven't watched G4, I'd recommend it. Do Princess's Dream of Magic Sheep is the best episode, which I feel like is going to be controversial, but it is my favourite episode. Oh, I forgot to put the movie in as well. And also there was My Little Pony the movie. Very big. I remember going to cinema, see it. It was great. The fact that there were so many big stars in it, the music, this playlist is just incredible. So, yeah. These are basically very much like Palace Pets. They have bobble heads and you can wiggle them. And they are, again, quite small. But the biggest one is they have big eyes, big ears, no forelocks. They do have feathering down there, but the hair is again quite thin. And then over here is another fashion style Luna, so think about back to the Luna that we just had. She was actually the right colour pretty much, so that's why I bought this whole set. And as you can see, the hair isn't as full, but also they've become quite a bit more defined, and yeah, pretty cool. So I still need to buy some more of these because I just think the bobbly heads are so cool, but they do really look like Palace Pets. If you don't know what Palace Pets are, Google them, you'll agree. Look at my bad editing, sorry. But yeah, I love this thing. G4.5 animation. can't really talk too much on this because I couldn't get past the first episode, but that is personal choice, so I'm really sorry if I offended anyone there. But I think it was just such a shock to me to get used to a new style so quickly. So maybe I'll go back and rewatch it. I probably should go back and rewatch it. But they do look really cute. I personally don't like a lot of the G5 brushables because I feel like they don't reflect the characters very well because the hair is too much. Like I really like the moulded ones. But also, I love Izzy, but that front facing, just terrifying. Like you can see she's more sleek here, but the head, again, is starting to go out of proportion to the body. The hairs on these are just wild. Some of the larger brushables are really nice. We've got one somewhere over there, but yeah, these are. I was a little bit disappointed when they came out. Like I really wanted one because obviously, like, you know, new ponies. But yeah. Well done me for writing plastic free packaging. Some of them are fun. G5 animation. Right. I'm not going to talk much about the series because I don't know what spoilers and what isn't, so I think that's a safe thing to leave it like that. But the movie, the movie is, I really enjoyed it. It's got some very big names in, which is a shame that obviously they didn't keep them all the way into the series, but the cast of the series is really good too. Like, it feels like they definitely casted people to grab people's attention but I reckon it still would have been popular just with any voice actors because they've got such a loyal fan base that we were so excited to give everything a go. Like, I remember it was when I worked at my old job, the day the movie came out, and they asked me to stay later, and I was like, no, I want to go home and watch a movie. And my manager was like, I'll watch a movie with you in the office whilst we do our admin. And I was like, sold, so that's how I watched the movie. Behind a reception desk in a hotel. And then tell you tale, I'm also behind on the G5 animation, so please don't come for me. But I'm enjoying it. It's really wholesome, and my goddaughter is obsessed with ponies. Like, this is her G2, and it's incredible seeing how she's growing up with ponies, and Auntie Betsy who has the cool ponies, you know. And she has the biggest G5 collection, a lot bigger than mine, and she has all the little sets. And yeah, and she will take friendship lessons from Sunny. And it's just great seeing a new generation get into ponies. So that leads us on to this.
I Hate You Productions.